The Pride Parade in Toronto gets cancelled over the weekend, while court orders Pro Hamas Protestors to take down University of Toronto Encampment. This is the Great White North Report.
I'm in love with the system. Never going home. I'm in love.
So last weekend, while I was busy celebrating Canada Day, and went down to Niagara Falls and climbed Queenston Heights from the Niagara River up to the Brock Monument, and then saw fireworks in my home city, we had Pride of Toronto thinking it was a great idea to have a Pride Parade during Canada Day weekend. I don't know why. But I guess it's pretty big. I'm never going to go there because I'm just not... I don't like Toronto, and it's not for me. If they want to have a parade, let them. So I guess it's pretty big. The parade was almost done. Most of it was done. And then some pro-Hamas demonstrators appeared on Yonge Street and blocked the route. And then the Pride Parade organizers canceled it. And you see this picture here of a Pride marcher clashing with a pro-Hamas demonstrators to disrupt the Toronto Pride Parade on Sunday. Like I said, I was in Queenston Heights that day, so I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't go to... That's why Niagara Falls wasn't as busy as it usually is. So these pro-Hamas demonstrators forced Pride Parade to be canceled on Sunday evening after disrupting the event mid-route on Yonge Street. I thought the LBTJQ, whatever it is, LBTQ, were supporting Hamas. So why would they start disrupting this parade? I don't get it. Why would you piss off your allies? So again, you have Queers for Palestine. That's kind of like the movie Chicken Run, where the chickens would support KFC. It'd be that kind of thing. These people don't understand. I don't know why they don't understand. In Palestine, under Hamas, they would be taken to the tallest building and thrown off, or they would be stoned to death, or they would be tortured, brutally tortured, sodomized, and then killed. I don't know why these people don't see it. Queers for Palestine is a far-left fringe movement supporting a far-right dictatorship terrorist movement. That doesn't make any sense. They might as well support the Ku Klux Klan. So it says a group of 30 people called the Coalition Against Pinkwashing stopped the parade about 3.5 hours after the start time. So they didn't want to cancel the whole thing and ruin it for everyone. They wanted to cancel a section of it near the end. Chanted "Free Palestine" or "Free Hamas," and Pride is a protest. Why? Why should Pride protest anymore? They've won everything. It's unbelievable how much we bow down to the LGBTQ nowadays. The whole they, them, two spirit, throwing pride flags up everywhere. And then the organizers of the Pride Parade made the decision to cancel the remainder of the parade out of our command during public safety. I don't know, 30 people? You could have bulldozed them easily. Teach them a lesson. But pinkwashing is because the Pride Parade is not cheap to organize and run. People from all other countries do participate. They come in and participate. And it's a big event. And it needs sponsors. So things like Royal Bank of Canada, Bank of Nova Scotia, places like that donate to LGBTQ, to the Pride Parade. It's good for business. But they also, because it's international banking, they also do business with Israel, just like they do business with places like China. Coincidentally, unleashed the COVID-19 or CCP virus amongst us and kept covering its power, the CCP did. So you have to be bedfellows with some places you might not want to be. But Israel is a fully democratic country. There's no apartheid. They're not doing genocide in Gaza. In fact, they're the most moralistic army in the world. It's Hamas that hides behind its civilians. But of course, these idiots are funded by Qatar and Iran. I wish the people doing these things would actually look. So now they say the Pride Parade is not the place for a pro-Hamas protest, Pride Toronto official says. And he's right, it's not. But they helped it. A lot of the pro-Hamas protests is not the place in Canada for that. You want to support a terrorist organization, you go join and go to Gaza and fight for them. Most Canadians will not support a terrorist organization that are like the Nazis of the Middle East. So the organizer said it was very unfortunate that the group decided to take away the opportunity for the queer community The one time a year folks come from all over the world, all over Canada, all over Ontario to celebrate themselves, to be themselves. What are you talking about? They've been celebrating themselves in Canada for the last 10, 20 years. I am generally okay with things, but there are times where it's just, I feel it's just shoved down our throats. So the coalition against pinkwashing, a coalition of queers and trans activists from Palestine solidarity groups interrupted the Pride Parade with a protest around 6 p.m. Again, that is like chickens protesting for KFC. Unbelievable how the idiots, the inmates run the asylum in this thing. Protesters were starting to yell at individuals that they were to celebrate, whether they were members of the community or allies. The coalition countered the demonstrations were justified in protesting in Toronto's Pride Parade. Why not? They protested at everything else that we do. They deface our monuments, deface our public squares, have defaced our university commons grounds. Why not Pride? Why is Pride special? Should Pride get a free pass on these things? No. The thing I don't understand is why the police didn't come in and arrest them. Process them, give them time. So spokesperson Layla Salman accused Pride Toronto of ignoring a call to divest itself of corporations which the group claims are funding the genocide of Palestinians. They're not funding the genocide of Palestinians. I don't know how they could do that. Palestinians are a new phenomenon, for starters. They never started calling themselves that until 1968. And even then it took a long time for the majority of the population to accept it. So basically this generation of people, and they're also one of the fastest growing populations in the Middle East. That's why there's so many of them in Gaza, because families tend to have large families. So there's no genocide. Genocide's the opposite, where they decline in population. They've actually increased. You could say they're declining now. That's only because their own political leadership, Hamas, hides underneath and amongst them, so they get targeted. Israel goes to great lengths not to kill civilians. Do some reading. This guy, Kinsman, called the current Pride Toronto board an anti-democratic and non-responsible organization. Really? Gary Kinsman said that. But he's supporting a very undemocratic government in Gaza, as well as in the West Bank. And not a very responsible organization, too. Again, the ironies and the thought process of these people is amazing. Stopping a parade to protest genocide that's happening across the world, that's killing tons of people, especially children, that's a good reason to stop a parade. That's called war. How many children do you think were killed in World War II? Canadian bombers were flying over the skies of Germany, dropping bombs on cities. Because sometimes you have to break the will of the people. Hitler was ready to go down to the very last man, woman, and child. So is Hamas. Get it through your thick skull. So let me go to finally the university encampments. Finally, one's going to get taken down. Court orders anti-Israeli protesters to take down his University of Toronto encampment. So the Pro Hamas previously said they would stay put until the school agrees to their demands and were ordered to clear up by Wednesday evening. Hopefully they don't, and the police can go in and arrest them all. I really want the police to arrest them. Process them and see what happens. And those who are not Canadian citizens, put them in jail for a long time, then kick them out of the country. Because these encampments seize control of part of the downtown campus and have caused harm to the campus itself. And that's true. They've been there for 62 days. So these people have been there for 62 days. So obviously they don't have a job. They're unemployed. Who's paying them? That's what I like to know. You follow the money, it mostly goes back to Qatar and the Muslim Brotherhood and stuff like that. Hamas. They're being paid by far-right wing groups. So now the police have the authority to arrest or remove anyone who knows about the order and contravenes it. I don't know why it took this long. Hell, I don't even think the trucker convoy lasted this long before Trudeau called the Emergencies Act. Why didn't he call the Emergencies Act? Is this not an emergency? All these campuses and protests going in our streets, disrupting people's lives. Same thing as Ottawa, just on a broader scale. The trucker convoy was in Ottawa. Mostly Canadians protesting a Canadian policy. It was a Canadian thing. These encampments are not Canadian in nature. No, there's no evidence the encampment participants have been violent or anti-Semitic, really. Does Jewish people go walk in there? Might be the odd Jewish nun who supports them, but the demonstration would take away the university's ability to control what happens on the area known as King's College Circle. In our side, we've decided that the owner of the property generally gets to decide what happens on the property. And like I said, they've been there for 62 days, no job, not going to get a job. Who's supplying them? Me, myself, I would have just blockaded them in. Let them until they starve themselves out. Would have been the easiest thing to do. Because this judge was right. If the protesters can take the power for themselves by seizing front campuses, there's nothing to stop a stronger group from coming and taking the space over from the current protesters. That leads to chaos. You get the homeless encampments are perfect examples of that. Taking over places. They've taken over for themselves and they need to be taught a lesson. Like I said, the far left groups in Canada are supporting a very far right movement in Hamas. The group did not clarify whether they plan to comply with the court order. However, Sarah Rasik, a graduate student who has acted as a spokesperson for the camp, said they tried to make decisions by reaching a consensus. Consensus, eh? I hope they don't comply, because I want the police to go in. I really do. I want them to go in, arrest these people, and definitely find out which ones are Canadians and which ones are not. This is what happens when you let wokeness seep into our university system. You get a bunch of idiots like this. Hey, Canadians out there, let me know if you think that the court order was the right thing to do. Should the police have gone in much sooner than this? And was a pride parade the perfect place for a Pro Hamas protest? And what do you think about Queers for Palestine supporting Hamas? Leave comments in the comment section. Until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.